This is a 2001 Dodge Ram 3500. Bought this a few years ago to do a better job of pulling our RV down the road. And it does great, but I had to admit that sometimes in this series, with 98 to 2002, on the 5.9 Cummins, they starve a little bit for power as compared to the later models. So I've done a few things to the truck to help it along, some by accident, some intentional. I thought I would share them with you to maybe give you some ideas on how to get a little bit more power out of your Cummins engine. So I'm going to start on the other side and take a look at the exhaust. First thing that happened was what they call a muffler delete. My muffler when I bought it was really just sounded like maraca, all broken up and loose on the inside, so I took it down to get a new muffler. And the guy at the muffler shop said, well, I can charge you $250 for a new muffler, or we can just delete the thing. And I wasn't quite too sure what he was talking about, but he said it happens all the time, and that was only $50. And he said it was a popular mod for these trucks, so it's now running 4-inch exhaust, straight exhaust all the way back. Doesn't really increase the sound all that much, especially in the cab, hardly noticeable. And it also reduces your exhaust gas temperature because, well, it evacuates the exhaust much more quickly. So this was the first thing I did to create less back pressure on the engine. And after the exhaust, the next thing I really had to change was the intake system. The old air box was broken, actually, had a crack in it. So instead of replacing that, I went out and bought this K&N cold air intake, which increases the flow to the engine. And actually noticed a performance increase with just this. So now between the cold air intake and the exhaust delete, we freed up the airflow both going into the engine and exiting the engine. And that was a start. And it continues from here. Now, way down there, you can see the lift pump right behind the fuel filter. That was an upgrade. I went with the AirDog 150 high lift capacity lift pump because I called the good friends over at Thoroughbred Diesel to ask them intentionally, what can I do to get more power out of the engine? They recommended two things. This was the first. The factory lift pump was one of the Achilles heels of this truck. Never gave enough fuel to the engine and was the reason for a lot of injector pump failing because they weren't cooling. So that was the first part of an upgrade I got from Thoroughbred Diesel. And here was their other additional recommendation. This is a Edge EZ performance chip. It's 3 stages. There's a toggle switch in the by the driver's seat for stage 1, 2, and 3. Both these items together made a pretty significant difference in the performance of the truck. So I'll show you the toggle switch in just a bit, but this was Thoroughbred Diesel's recommended upgrade for this 2001 Dodge Ram 5.9 Cummins, and it seemed to have helped quite a bit. Very happy with this. I run it in stage 2 most of the time because I noticed that that's where I get really good performance. I don't need all the power of stage 3, maybe once in a while when I'm pulling. But in stage 2, I actually notice that I get 2 to 3 mile per gallon increase in town. I went to fill up the other day and saw that I'd gone over 465 miles on tank of gas and checked it out, and I was floored. So good deal, and the power performance is noticeable with this chip. I mounted the switch right there on the side of the bracket for the brake controller. It is currently in stage 2, just a 3-position toggle switch, and you can change it on the fly going down the road. Very handy. The lift pump, again, which you can't see way down there, but you can see the new blue hosing, which is oversized fuel lines going to the ejection pump and the filter, all part of the kit. That was the most bare to install, but still, a little time, a little patience, you can get it done. I do want to say, though, that after I installed this, there's a second option of installing a unit actually in the tank. This unit, a little bit more pricey, but it upgrades the fuel lines all the way to the engine. So that can have benefits too. Larger fuel lines all the way from the tank. I've had no issues with this. It's been great, but do your research and check it out and see which one's best for you. I do recommend that guy right there, though. Don't forget about him. Best money spent. And last but not least, just put this on yesterday. The Banks high flow intake with the heater delete bracket you can see at the base there. These trucks come with a heating mechanism to heat the air going into the truck. I've been told it's more of an EPA function than a function of the truck. By replacing it with this, basically a spacer, it takes the heating element out and creates more airflow along with the dynamics of the designed high Banks ram. Actually, believe it or not, I noticed more power at higher speeds with the lower RPMs. Quicker acceleration from 50 to 70 without having to downshift. Yeah, I kind of like that. So I was a little worried about the heater delete because they say it can cause problems in cold temperatures. So this was a try. It's currently, yesterday was about 40 degrees. This morning was about 29, 30 degrees. Truck started just fine. No difference at all. Just normal. And it has the higher flow to the engine now. So I'm going to leave it as is, see what happens. Okay, in case I wasn't too clear, this is the older module right here. The heater for the intake system. You can see the fins on top for the heating element. And it can restrict the flow through a little bit. Here's the new one down here, which is nothing more than a spacer and a complete open pass-through for the system. So this replaced this. Now another issue this truck had was something they call a fourth gear hunt, or anywhere from 50 miles an hour, 45 on up, you would see this hesitation or jump like it's trying to shift gears. They did make a mod for this engine, bypass circuitry. You can search on Google for fourth gear hunt and you'll find a diagram for putting in a harness which bypasses the circuitry for the ECM over there in the corner and supposed to resolve that problem. Well, I had this done and I still had that fourth gear hunt issue. Long story short, check your grounds on all your cables, all of them, all the way around. I went ahead and replaced all the lug ends for my battery terminals, all connections, and I put on this military grade battery terminal. You can see the post type there, and resecured all my grounds all the way throughout the vehicle. And I'm telling you right now, folks, that fixed it. Make sure your battery connections and grounds are good if you're having a fourth gear hunt issue. And that was fixing the problem. So, all said and done, the things that I've shown you here today has been of benefit. It wasn't cheap. The ram intake, spacer 325, the lift pump 400, the chip another 400. Of course, the K&N filter and the exhaust, they weren't too bad, but like I said, I'm getting an increase in mileage, both pulling and just driving around. And I have gained in stage 2 with all this about 80 horsepower. And so now she does quite well. I'm very happy with the performance pulling our travel trailer. And you may have seen or noticed when you were looking at the three-state switch in the cab, right next to it was an OBD2 reader for your engine codes. And I just want to say that prior to changing these terminals and fixing that issue, I had intermittent check engine lights and ECM PCU codes across the board that I could reset, and then they would come back. But since I have fixed these terminals, the codes have not come back. Been driving it about 4 months now. It's been solid. And I also want to say that none of these upgrades that I've done have caused any codes or check engine lights. And that makes me happy as well. So hope this helps. And good luck with your truck. Okay, update. Newsflash. It's been about a week since I did all the modifications here to the Banks high ram. And I took out the heater. Yeah, guess what's back in? The heater. It was about 22 degrees last night, and the truck basically wouldn't start this morning. It stumbled a couple times before when it was a little cool, but always started. This morning, no go. So it's back in, and guess who started the first time? Yeah. So this is staying in during the winter. It might stay in all the time. Not too sure. It's only a 20-minute job to take it in and out, but we'll see. But we're back to operational now. Just give you a heads up. Thanks. Bye.